What's up YouTube? Today I'm bringing you a very valuable video, and it's all about transitioning from being a solopreneur to an entrepreneur. So let's just quickly dissect what a solopreneur is. It's somebody who is in their business operating everything by themselves. So maybe you might be a high ticket closer, you might have a plumbing business, you might be an electrician, you might be in the trades, you might have an e-com store. It's all about people who are a single person within their business. And why am I advising you to go along the path of building a team to become an entrepreneur? So if you're in this position, this is going to really help you out and give you some great insight into why you need to build a team. So let's get straight into it, and I'm going to start by basically going over some truth. Okay, I'm going to start by showing you this reel because it's super important. Okay,
Americans say you have to work hard, you have to believe in yourself, you have to follow your dreams. Forget that American shit. The most important element is to find a good team, a good commander. Everything starts with a handful loyal, honorable people with the same vision. With them, you will go on the top. Alone, you will be crushed. Be honorable.
I love that reel. I love it because it does just basically encompass everything about being an entrepreneur and a solopreneur. And if we look at some of the most, if we talk about the best, strongest teams in the world, what they've achieved, you can look here, Navy SEALs, SAS, SBS, all these kind of things, they all are founded upon teamwork. If anybody's been in the military, they realize the importance of having a good, strong, reliable team. And the same things goes in building your business, in building your employees and your staff roster, etc. And let's just move along to this image. This is the Roman Empire. Do you honestly think that all of this would have been possible if somebody had not built a team, not built an empire, not had commanders, not had people organizing things when they weren't there? You could never ever get anywhere close to being anything like this just by doing everything alone. So the same thing should be applied to your business. If you want to scale, if you want to grow, and you want to build a big successful business, then you're going to need to take on staff members at some point in your business career. So I thought that would just be a good intro into it. And guys, why should you listen to me? Well, first of all, I started from the very bottom. This is the first unit that I had. It was a small farm shed unit. I worked on my own completely for over a year, and I then turned my business into a multi-million-pound business. I've got a team. This is a bit of an outdated photo right now. I had a team. I've had many staff members. I've been through loads of different problems and trials and tribulations with staff members, but I've learned a lot. But without a doubt, I would never be where I am right now if I had not built a team and had not taken on staff members to grow the business. So first of all, why should you consider building a team? Well, the number one part of it for me personally is it's the key to becoming time independent. If you are constantly constrained to the business, if your business needs your constant time and attention for it to run or to produce income, then you're never going to become time independent. And the number one valuable asset in the world is time. I know a lot of people think it might be money, but it's time. And a lot of the top entrepreneurs in the world, they will tell you this, they repeat it over and over, that time is money. So if you can't detach yourself from the business, if you can't detach yourself from its revenue when it's related to your time and your input, then you're never going to be a successful entrepreneur. And in order to do that, you need to have people to take responsibilities from you. As you all know, you probably might be working a 9 to 5. You're part of that team. So if you're in a solopreneur position, at some point, you're going to need to take somebody on to reduce your time input and to take on responsibilities. Another key point, and a lot of people oversee this actually, is that you can leverage other people's knowledge, energy and time. So if there is a big stack of wood that I need to move from one place to the other, if I've got one person doing it, it's going to take me a lot longer and it's going to take me a lot more effort, and I'm going to get tired quicker. If I've got 2 people, it's going to take me half the time with a lot less effort. And if I've got 10 people, it's going to take me 10 times less time. Well, it depends on a certain point. You've got obviously limitations to that. Let's put it that way. So you can leverage their knowledge. So if you get people into your team, when you're hiring people that are better than you, you can leverage their knowledge to provide a better service. You can leverage their knowledge to provide a higher quality service in terms of what you can offer as well. And you can also start to add more services to your offerings. So for example, in my business, at some point I wasn't knowledgeable on fitting diesel heaters, so I brought somebody in and I got them trained up, and they had a base knowledge on how to fit diesel heaters. Straight away that added probably a good 10% on my bottom line net revenue, because we started to be able to offer a super important service that a lot of people want in the camper van industry. So that's just a great example of how I leverage that knowledge. You can also leverage their energy and time, and that means you can get more work done, and that increases your revenue. Third point is to bring in new streams of revenue via new skills. I think I've just touched on that, basically what I've just said. And the point of building a team is it's the key to scaling via increased workloads. So if someone comes along to you and say, look, I've got £1 million contract here, I need someone to do it, and you're only on your own and you don't have the time or you don't have the manpower behind you to deliver on that, you've just lost £1 million. You've just lost £1 million contract. So if you want to scale, if you want to earn more money, if you want to get a bigger business, then you're going to need to have more manpower behind you. And that comes from building the team, of course. So you need to think about that if you want to take on bigger contracts. It's also going to bring you a customer service improvement. So the customer service is super important, because if you're trying to do all the work yourself, you're trying to do all the servicing yourself, you're trying to do all the sales, all the quoting, all the accounting, all the different things that you need to do as a business owner at the very start, you're going to lack in certain areas because your time is finite. You know, you've only got 12 to 15 workable hours per day. So if you're trying to do everything yourself, at some point somewhere the business is going to lack. So if you can take people on to reduce your input in terms of the workshop, for example, or wherever it be in your business, your customer service can improve. And I believe that customer service is one of the most important things in any business, as most people do as well. But it's a massive sales point, and it's something that's been very successful in my business. It's one of the reasons that I've been so successful, because I've focused so much on the customer service. If you go to look at my reviews on Google, you'll see that a lot of customers mention this, and this is why we get so much repeat business with absolute minimal advertising spend. So if you want to build a good culture in your business, then you should think about doing that through customer service. And to be able to do that, you need to have people to support you to reduce your time elsewhere. This is the next really key point, and something that I've always focused a lot on my business as well, and why I think I've been a bit more successful than some of the competitors in my area, is that it allows you to spend more time on the business rather than in it. Okay, and what do I mean by that? If I was spending time in my business, I would be in the workshop right now fitting a roof or fitting a diesel heater, doing the conversion services that I offer. Okay, but what that means is that I don't have time to sit down and actually work on improving the business. So what that means is improving my sales process, my sales funnel, my customer service methods, thinking about expanding. Where can I look into new services? Can I find new staff? That is all what being a business owner or an entrepreneur is about. It's about sitting back and playing the strings in terms of improving the business on a daily basis. So if you're constantly in the business doing the service, if you're a I don't know, let's say you're an agency and you're constantly doing all the content scheduling, and you're doing all the posts, you're doing all the content design, and you're doing all the editing of the videos, that's going to take you away from actually doing outreach. It's going to take you away from improving the business. So that's something to consider. You're not going to be able to spend time on the business. Okay, so the next point is super important, and it's about reducing your lead time on your service or product deliverability. So this was massive for me, because if people came to me and they wanted a roof fitting and I was only on my own, or I had one person to help me, my lead time is going to be exponentially longer than if I had 3 people or 4 people or 5 people. And that means you can win more business, because when people get something in their mind and they want it straight away. It's like with Amazon Prime delivery. You're always going to choose the product, even if it costs a little bit more, the thing that you can get the next day. So you need to enact this kind of process, or this thought process in your business as well. So for example, if you've got a content generation agency, for example, the person who can deliver it quicker with a good quality and a fair price is going to win the contract. If you can't deliver something for 2 to 3 months time, then you're going to lose business to other competitors who might just have a space in their diary to get that person in, because speed is massively important in the business. So if you can get more people into your team, you can account for it and you can win more business, which is going to fund the cost of having that staff member in business. And I think the next point is something that most people don't actually think about. If you're a solopreneur and you take ill, or you have an accident, or something happens to you and you can't work, if you don't work, then you're not going to make any money. So you've got no one to fall back on. If I was ill, I know I've got my team behind me to back me up, to keep the place going, to pay the bills, and I might have some hospital bills, or I might have something that I need to pay for whilst, you still got fixed costs going on in the business. So it's important to think about that. So even in this stage, a lot of people, it doesn't happen expectedly. It's always unexpected, having an accident or something like that. And then that means that you're going to struggle with catching up or supporting the bills. And the final point on this slide is it's essential if you plan to exit and sell your business one day. Nobody's going to realistically buy a business if you're the only person in it, unless you've got a certain niche business. So if you actually plan to exit, and that's where real wealth is created, by exiting business and selling that asset, then you need to have a team behind you to be able to do that. All right, so how do you recognize when you should take on a staff member? Because this is a key point as well, because most people don't recognize this, and even I went through this process of not realizing it. and I should have realized it earlier, but this is why I'm making videos like this, to show you people that you can do the same thing and not make the same mistakes that I made. Okay, so number one is losing customers due to lead times. So particularly in like a trades business, if you're a plumber, for example, and you're losing jobs because you can't do it in time, people are going elsewhere, they want to do it straight away, or they want to do it within a reasonable time frame, then you should start thinking about taking somebody on. If you're noticing that you're taking too long to respond to leads, I spoke to somebody on the phone in the business yesterday who, another business, it took them 12 weeks, that's 3 months, to get a quote to them. Just to get a quote to them. So if it's taking you 3 months just to make a quote, do you not think that you should be taking somebody on because I've just won that job? That's a prime example straight away. I always try to get a quote to somebody within 24 hours, and we win so many jobs like this. The amount of comments I get from people that we are the quickest person to get a quote to them, and they go ahead with it because they find that the communication is super responsive. That's a sign of a good business, and that you want the business, and you get sales from that. If you've got the revenue to support a staff member as well, so if you've got a good revenue and you're making good profits and you want to take a little bit of time out, if you're making, I don't know, 200 grand a year profit, and you could pay someone 25 grand a year to do all your jobs for you, why would you not do that? You're going to earn 25 grand less, and you're going to completely free up all your time. So think about it like that. If you've got consistent and long-term work booked in, well, you know, if you've got the consistent work coming in, regular contracts, then you could take somebody on to fulfill those and find new business yourself and take more people on, so and so on. That's how you scale and grow a business. If you're working 12 hours a day, if you enjoy working 12 hours a day, then yeah, obviously every business owner has to do these things. But if you want to value your time, again, go back onto spending it on improving the business, then you can find somebody to take on your responsibilities. If you can't complete certain skilled services, so for example, this can be applied to any business, guys, not just a workshop based like mine. Anybody who can take, and if you can take on new jobs because you're offering this new skill, then that's an important way to look at it. It's a great way to scale again. And if you have potential new contracts or leads that you wouldn't be able to fulfill on your own, or your own team can't support that new business, it kind of goes into if you've got the losing customers due to lead times. Sorry, I've got hay fever at the moment, so it's absolutely messing my eyes up. So yeah, if you've got new potential somebody comes to you and say, I've got this £1 million contract, I need all these vans converting, or I need all these houses doing up, and if you can get the people behind you to do it, then you've got the contract because we trust your business and your responsibilities, etc., etc. That's a sign that you need to take somebody on or to build a bigger team. Another really important part is how to spot a good potential staff member. So hiring a good staff member and hiring a bad staff member can be one of the biggest decisions you can make, because it can really affect the output of your business, it can affect your customer service, it can affect the other people in the team as well. So you need to make sure you try and hire the right, correct person. So how do I spot that? Well, I always value work ethic, personal attitude, and presentation highly. So how does somebody speak? How do they present themselves? How are they dressed? What's their attitude to certain things that you speak about? That's a really good indication of what that person is like. Do they have a stable personal life? So I look out for if they're interested in going out partying, drugs, crazy lifestyles. Are they going to turn up on a Monday morning? Are they going to be depressed? Are they going to be low output, low energy? Look out for things like that. How do they speak? Are they articulate? That's a really important one. If I'm trying to sell a job to somebody, I want to speak to somebody who can actually speak well. Can they articulate themselves well? Do they have a good vocabulary? What's their voice sound like? If you get somebody on the end of the phone who's trying to sell you a £10,000 job or whatever, and they're talking all this slang and bad language, then that's not going to look well for the business. Ask them about their goals for the future as well. You know, do they have plans to start their own business one day? Do they have plans to just learn what you're doing and then go out and do it themselves? That's another thing you need to be aware of. Tell them how, this is a really interesting point actually, because I learned this at a mastermind last year, and it's something I would never have thought about before. Tell them how hard the job is, how difficult it's going to be. And the reason you do this, it weeds out the quitters. So if you tell somebody, oh, the job's really easy, it's not hard, it's very relaxed, etc., then you're going to attract lazy people. But if you tell them the opposite, tell them that the job's really hard, you know, you got all this pressure, you've got all this kind of like things you got to do, responsibilities, long hours, that is going to weed out the people that are not suitable to the job. You want to get the hard-working individuals with a good working attitude. So that's a really key point. Do they have a family? So if you want somebody who's going to stay long-term, you want to build on the skills, teach them a lot, and you want them to stay for a long time, then if they have a family, then obviously it's going to be more important to them to make sure they've got consistent regular income. So think about that. How many jobs have they had in the past? And check the CV and actually call the business they worked for. So if they are job hopping every 2 to 3 months, that's a red flag straight away, because it means they're going in, they're probably getting bored straight away, and they're going on to something else. They've not got commitment. That's a red flag. Avoid anybody like that. I've already discounted so many people from the sales position that I'm hiring because they're job hopping every 2 to 3 months, and that's not what I'm looking for. Because as a business, you need to invest into somebody. You're going to take time to teach them the job, and hiring a person is not easy. You know, teaching somebody what you need to do and do it right can be a lengthy process. Next point is, what's their vibe like? You know, you can get a vibe from somebody. I'm very good at understanding this from somebody very quickly. It's all about interpersonal skills as well. So what's their vibe like? Have they got a good vibe about them? Knowledge versus experience. So you should take industry knowledge over experience. So this is another point that I learned at a mastermind, and also something I agree with as well. It's much easier to perform a skill or to sell something to somebody if that person that's selling it has a very good industry knowledge. So what that would look like in my business, to put it into layman's terms, is like, well, does this person know everything about camper vans? Do they know how it's all put together? Do they know how they're built, etc., etc.? And that's important because knowledge sells. So think about that. Another point is to hire two and fire the first one. This is more for like sales, I think, but you could do it for other things as well. I've done it in my business. Is to hire two, fire the first one, make them compete. Tell them that only one is going to make it. So when you get them, tell them only one of you is going to make it, especially for sales roles, this is, so that they compete against each other. You want to find that competitive attitude, especially in salespeople, and then get rid of the worst one, because you can always get rid of people, and it's hard when you've got two people, when you've got one person to compare against somebody else. So you can hire two. And can that person be a jack of all trades? Can they take on multiple roles at once? That's very, very valuable, because if you can get two job roles out of one person and pay them the same amount of salary as one person, obviously, then that's going to be very, very valuable for the business, especially at the start of your business when you're quite small. And how do you deal with bad staff members? Okay, I've had to deal with this as well. Hire fast, fire fast. So you need to hire people quickly, make sure they're the right person. And if they're not, if they start to show you bad signs or start to give you red flags, just get rid of them straight away, because the longer they stay in the business, it's harder to get rid of them. There's more legalities involved, and it's just going to give bad energy into the business. It's not going to be good for you. Recognize bad traits and deal with them as fast as possible. So if you've got somebody who's giving red flags again, or behaving badly at work, or putting out bad energy into the workforce, deal with that straight away. Tell them that this is not what you expect, and if they don't rectify it, then they've got to go out the door. Like I said, fire fast. Set your expectations immediately. So when you're hiring a person, tell them what they need to do, what the expectations of the business are. I had somebody come into the business at one point, and within 3 days I had to fire him because he turned up late 3 days in a row on the first week. What else did he do? He left unannounced for over an hour and a half for some reason, said that it was some kind of excuse, didn't believe it anyway, and I got rid of that person straight away, because that's not what I expect in my business. And that's the kind of way you need to be. You need to be ruthless, and you can't let these kind of people have these attitudes in your business, because then it reflects badly on the other people and puts that kind of attitude to the others as well, that it's okay for them to do these kind of things, and you're going to put up with it. You've got to have a fine balance between being controlling and in charge. So this is something that I've had to work on and improve upon my time with the start. You've got to allow people space to grow and do their own thing, get on with a job, but you've also got to exert authority and make sure that they know that you're in charge and you expect to do what you tell them to do, as long as it's within reason. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are a good boss in that way, and not be controlling and just let people get on with the things. Don't be looking over the shoulder. Just make sure you set your expectations. As long as they get to that and they do it well and with the good attitude, that's important. No one's perfect. Give them space to grow, but don't allow multiple cases of bad behavior, or you'll be viewed as weak. That's kind of what I've already mentioned as well. So just don't allow multiple bad cases of behavior, because if that is happening and other people in your team are seeing that, they're going to see you as weak. Okay, if you've got an issue, call them in for review first of all. Okay, speak to them, say, look, we're not happy with this. Speak softly and confidently, exert assertiveness, and don't be shouting, don't be aggressive. Just make sure that you can get across the point that you want to make, that you're not happy with, and give them confidence to say, we can work this out, let's do a better job, etc., etc. Now, if you need to fire someone, understand that this is something that you will need to get used to doing, and it's just business. And the way I do this is I think of myself as operating the business and not my personal self. So if I'm firing somebody, it's not me, Dario, the person, firing that person. It's the business. You're not good for the business. You're not a good fit. You're not performing well. Unfortunately, this is not how this business operates. We can't have you here. You're going to have to get used to firing people, unfortunately. It's just something as an entrepreneur you'll have to do. And it's not easy. Trust me, it's really not easy. I've had to go through some very difficult decisions in my career to be able to get to this point, and I've had to fire quite a few people, because if they're not performing to the levels that you expect, then that's not good enough, and you've got to move on and find somebody new. All right. a few final points. So this is mainly for people who are going through the period of going through the process of hiring somebody and they've got maybe bad employees. So understand that an employee will almost always win if you ever go to court. No matter whether you think you're right, and even if you are right, they're always going to win, because the courts will always take the side of an employee no matter what the situation is, because just how the law works. Okay, make sure you address all employee situations in a legally correct manner. The costs of not doing things by the book are extremely high, so whenever I have to do anything to do with HR or staff members, I've always got a HR consultant on the phone and I ask, is this the right way to do it? Is the correct way to do it? Because if you don't do it by the book, unfortunately employee law is very strong in the UK. Even though they might not be right, like I mentioned before, then you can end up finding yourself in a difficult situation which will cost you a lot of money if you don't do it by the book. So don't just be rash and aggressive, do what is right by the book. As I mentioned before, always speak to a HR advisor before making any serious decisions. And if you truly want to be rich and free one day, it's essential to build a team. There really is no other way around it, in my opinion. You've got to think about building a team and transitioning from being a solopreneur. And a final point, again, this reflects on me as something I've learned. Not everyone is a born leader. Okay, and it's why some leaders step down and hand over their responsibilities. Recognize your strengths, your personal strengths, and play to them. So that's the final point. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do need any help with business, or you want to get into starting your own business, drop me a message. You can follow the links in the description below, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Really appreciate you watching. Thanks for watching.